Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Full Circle Network. I'm editor-in-chief of FullCircleCinema.com, Jackson Hayes, and today we are here for a very special review. This will be a non-spoiler review for the Umbrella Academy Season 2, which hits Netflix July 31st. Jacob and I were lucky enough to see the second season early, so we're going to put out a little non-spoiler review for you to just give us overall thoughts on the show. Jacob, what's up?
I'm super excited to be here for this review. I really can't wait to talk about Umbrella Academy in depth. So getting to talk about a few things that I liked this season, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we're going to do our best to keep it as service value as possible.
Yeah.
We'll keep it, brief. This won't be as long as, some of our spoiler reviews on the channel, but we're going to, do our best to kind of sell you on this season. I think that's definitely the best way to put it. I love season one. I'm sure, I know you're a big fan of season one, Jacob, but this show just has
Oh yeah.
it just has a certain flair to it, similar to like a show like Doom Patrol does. It just has it's its own thing. It makes it, takes a superhero world and just makes it its own thing, which is something that is lacking a lot of the times in this medium. It's a lot of the same, a lot of generic superhero stuff that just kind of gets cycled through over and over again. Whereas, these shows make themselves very unique, and this show very much in general has its own, like I said, flair. So Jacob, what were your thoughts on, what are your feelings on season one, and then we'll kind of just compare it to season two as we get the conversation going.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. Season one of Umbrella Academy, I thought was great. I Unlike a lot of like other superhero shows and movies we talk about, I've never read Umbrella Academy except for I think it was Volume One, but I didn't read that till after season one came out. So it was really fun to get to go into like the show with not knowing anything about the characters, the setting that they're in, and just get to experience it fresh for the first time. And it's like you said, it's such a unique show where it's kind of got that same kind of Doom Patrol feel where it's like I don't feel like they take things as serious as other stuff does. Like the things that are happening are just they're weird sometimes. There's just a random time bureau that monitors everything going on in the timeline. There's a 5-year-old, but he's an 8 like he's like 80 in his mind, and not 5-year-old. It's like it's just yeah, five's is very young. But it's such a great show. And season one really hooked me, and ever since I finished it, I've been dying to watch season two because they ended on such a cliffhanger that it really got me ready for what they had next. And as we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, they delivered on everything I wanted to see. And how did you feel about season one, Jackson?
Yeah, so I love season one. I knew nothing about Umbrella Academy. I'd never read a page about it. I was luckily enough, to see the first season early, and I think that really helped me, in this watered down, streaming services, superhero shows, all of it. There's so much of it at one time, and seeing it early, I was able to just kind of form my own opinion without having any outside perspective or knowing anything about the comic books or anything. And it just, like, the 7 episodes that I saw just like blew me away. It was something new, and it was something fresh, and these characters were so interesting and complex, and it was just a world I'd never seen before. And it took me almost no time to just jump right in and be completely obsessed with the show. It was definitely one of my favorite things of last year, early last year. Can't believe it feels like forever ago, but
Oh yeah.
it was so awesome, and I couldn't be more excited for season two. And so when we were able to watch that, it was like Christmas. I mean, with all this stuff going on and the lack of content and the pandemic and movie theaters being closed, everything's been so dry, and we haven't been getting a lot of things. And so when this show coming out, in the middle of the summer, in the middle of all this, was just a very great silver lining. And it definitely brought me a lot of joy to see these characters back for another romp in a different time period, as you saw in the trailer. I'm sure many of you have seen it. At the end of season one, spoilers for season one, we'll definitely be spoiling that throughout this. The team is able to prevent the end of the world by saving Vanya, but in reality, she destroys the moon, and then the moon is coming to destroy Earth with all the meteors. So then Fives has the great idea to travel back in time, and it's unclear at that point where they go. In the trailer, you see that they are dropped into 1963 Dallas, Texas. If you know anything about 1963 Dallas, Texas, a certain event happens.
It blows your mind.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know if we're keeping that in.
Can we please?
There's a certain event that happens. I'm going to do a do-over, so in case Marcus wants to cut that out.
No. No, I don't think I will.
There's a certain event that happens in Dallas in 1963 involving a certain president that you know there's some craziness going to go on with the Umbrella Academy being involved with it. So it kind of hypes that up. So let's just go into general impressions of season 2, and then we'll go a little more specific in terms of what really worked for us. In
Right.
terms of the characters, the setting, things like that, rather than no plot points or anything like that. Maybe some of the new additions we'll touch on briefly.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That
but
way we
so
don't,
let's start
we don't
there.
ruin it for anyone.
Overall, Jacob, season 2, how you feel?
I loved season 2. I think I'm gonna rewatch it again when it comes out officially on Netflix, but I think I liked it a little bit more than season 1 because you already know these characters and you've already grown to care about them, and so you get to see this growth for them and this development, and it makes you love them even more. And they took everything I loved about season 1 and just upped it, and they just made it so much better. They love the soundtrack of season 1. The soundtrack of season 2 is amazing. The action scenes and just even the small little character moments that that the team have is it's just fantastic. Everything clicked in the season for me. I don't think there was any like moment that I was like, I'm not enjoying what I'm watching. I sat down and I binged it all in one sitting. So I 10 hours I just binged Umbrella Academy season 2, and it's just at no point did it feel like a chore to watch. It just I had to see what happened next because it just every episode it just hit.
I mean, yeah, one thing this show has done smartly in the first and second season is keeping the episode count lower. 10, I think, is a perfect place for this show. There is no filler. There is no stopping. Everything that happens is meaningful. And it forwards the plot. It moves the characters along. It does everything on the board. You don't get anything. There's no side storylines that are dull. There are definitely side storylines in this season, and I think that's a big part of the beginning. Is the characters are kind of spread out at first,
Yeah.
and they have to come together. And at first, I was a little irked because I was like, oh man, they spent so much of the first season, fighting against each other and arguing, and I just wanted to see them together as a team. But the build up to that was really what made the season worth it. Because obviously they're always butting heads. They all disagree with each other. Diego and Luther are always going to butt heads. They don't agree on anything. Everyone kind of has an issue with Vanya, and it's not even her fault. Fives is, a prick to all of them because he thinks they're stupid because he's obviously 60 years older mentally than all of them, and he thinks he knows better. And Klaus is always just annoying people with his antics, and Allison can be a little pretentious, and they all have their own type of personalities, and they all butt heads with each other. But just seeing them together as a family is one of my favorite parts of the show, and then seeing them work together as a team using their abilities is even ups that even more. And there's definitely some of that in this season. I mean, you come to expect that kind of thing from a superhero show, but it's one of these things it's really about the characters for me. And the story later, but the story this season, I gotta say, it was really, really interesting, and they really kept me moving with what was happening, and some misdirects and interesting new villains and old villains that come back into play, and there's some just all around. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it, but like you said, I mean, I haven't decided whether I'm gonna go with season 1 being better or season 2. I usually in these cases I lean towards the first outing just because it's new and fresh, and it's something I've never seen before. But they completely changed things in season 2, and nothing feels the same. Nothing feels like a do-over or like we're going back and having to redo things. It's completely new, and everyone is moving forward and getting into new places. And I just thought that this show is one of a kind, but it just really knows what it's doing. I think everyone behind the scenes really knows what they're doing with these characters, and they clearly have a place in mind they want to go. To putting these characters, and they're all going through things for a reason. They're not just dealing with trauma or issues out of nowhere. Like, these things are happening for a reason, and they end up either helping or hindering in the end. And I just think it works on all levels.
I agree. I definitely like your point that it all feels very new, and I think the setting did a great job of setting that up because season 2 Umbrella Academy, even though it's all the same characters and everything, it almost feels like a completely different show than season 1 because of this new environment they're put in and how they have to tackle the situations that they're forced to deal with. It worked really well to move the story along, but also just to change our characters in the way that it did.
Yeah, I think some people's stories very much subverted my expectations.
Yeah.
Allison's at the top of that list. Dealt with some stuff that's really heavy and definitely speaks to
Mm-hmm.
times today. And I think it was very bold of them to make that choice, but I felt like it was definitely the right thing to do. And I think they really handled it gracefully, and it left a
Mm-hmm.
mark on you. After the season ended, like of what had happened and everything that she went
Absolutely.
through. And then Klaus had his own thing. You see in the trailer, it's not much of a spoiler at all.
I think they
Yeah, that
revealed
he
that.
that he
So,
forms a cult, which definitely comes into play during the season, and it's just
which sounds so much like Klaus. That's
right,
something he would do.
right, of course, and it's just the way he sets it up is just so funny, and everyone will get the opportunity to see that, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so good, it's so unique, and it makes sense that he would end up there just given the
Mm-hmm.
way that he is, but the way he does it is just so unique to him because he
It's
is
so Klaus.
Klaus, he's Klaus, and he's gonna act that way. And I think Luther deals with some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
And another Luther's story was really great, especially considering the environment that it was set in and some of the historical moments that they're working around. And the way they did, I thought was really well done.
yeah, I think if you're a history buff, you'll definitely get some fun stuff out of this season.
Yeah.
And other people would be doing some googling and find some interesting stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on within this season. We also get some really cool team ups. I feel like we get some people teaming up that necessarily didn't really work together in the first
Yeah.
season. Not to get specific, but Diego and Five have a nice couple
They have a
episodes
good
together. Yeah,
dynamic.
they have a great dynamic, and I think the way they bounce off of each other is just hysterical. Luther and Five also have a few moments that are just ace. It's just good
One of my
stuff.
favorites, I one of my favorite dynamics that this season had was Allison and Klaus.
Right?
I
Yes, very much.
Because I went to see them from what we saw in season one. I don't think we had a lot of moments with them together that were like, oh my god, this is amazing. But it's like they worked really well together, and their stories kind of meshed very well.
Yeah, and I think to round out the family, the one left is Vanya, and I think what they do with
Yeah.
Vanya is very interesting. I can
Oh yeah.
see maybe some people being turned off to it a little bit, just because of the maybe the setting and the kind of how it's kind of away from the main story at first. But I think it really, really helps her character. Obviously, in the first
Absolutely.
season, for a few episodes, she was just kind of turned evil. The other ones, she was very misunderstood and treated poorly, and she didn't get. She was obviously dealing with some issues. But she gets a lot. She gets a lot more to do in this season. Ellen Page
Yeah.
really brings it home and gives this character like some new life and makes her someone you really want to root for, even more so than the
Absolutely.
first season.
I would say that if Vanya is your favorite member of the family, you're really gonna love her development this season.
Yeah, I think honestly you can say that for almost every character. I think
Yeah.
I mean everyone gets a moment to shine. And
No one's left
right,
out.
and then after rounding out that, we can jump to maybe some of the returning characters we get. In the trailer, you see that Reginald does play a part in the season. Obviously, them going to the past.
Yeah. I don't want to
See
say
him-
too
we're
much
not
about
gonna get
him
specific about what
because
his role
he's-
is, but I found it
but-
very interesting that they decided to bring him in and
Yeah.
get to play around with the family a little bit after them. We only saw it in flashbacks, really, them interacting. We never got to see them kind of deal with the trauma of them having lost their father, and then
Yeah.
him. He was already gone by the time we saw all of that.
So we kind of get to see how they. It's almost like they're still working through that because if you think about it,
right,
both of these seasons,
this is
it's only 14 days
Right.
that these two seasons take place.
right. It picks up right after the end of last season, and
Yeah.
obviously there's some time to stuff going on, so there's differences in some people's events, but everyone is clearly still dealing with this trauma that they dealt with as children, as adults, and they haven't gotten to move forward yet. And having him come in was an interesting choice, and one I think really worked when you look at the season in the grand scheme.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and then we'll and then some other returning characters.
Ooh, yeah,
The handler's back.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you can.
I don't want to say too much about her, like what she does this season, but I feel like in season one we can both agree she was more an antagonist because she was just in the way.
Right,
but I
right,
feel like
she
she
was
takes on more of a villainous role.
Very much
this
so,
season.
and if you saw season 1, you'll know why.
Yeah.
Because of the dealings with Fives and what ended up happening with her and Hazel.
Yeah.
Just she was kind of backstabbed a little bit. Even though she wasn't the good guy, she was still kind of screwed over in the end. But
Yeah,
She definitely comes back with full force and is a very great antagonist. And in the trailer, one of someone else we get introduced to is the Swedes, who were another new group of villains brought to the show, and I thought they were a great addition. They were
Oh
they
my
were
god, yeah,
funny,
absolutely.
they were heartfelt, they were badass. They went hard from the beginning,
Yeah.
and I thought they
Anytime there's
brought
a
it.
villain that at one point I'm like, I feel bad for them, I know it's a good villain. And there's moments where I was like, I feel for the Swedes.
Right, you do. They're bad guys, and they're supposed to be bad guys, but they bring them enough levity, and they say very few words, which is interesting and funny in a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to convey emotion without talking, but they do a great job of not
Oh yeah.
needing it necessarily. And so they were great. Another new addition, we have AJ, who was also shown in the trailer, who works at the commission. He is a goldfish, which is
Which makes sense.
yeah.
Makes
The
sense
show
for
is the show, so I'm gonna
It's
I'm
very
gonna
Umbrella
let
Academy.
the show do what it's gonna do. I thought he was great. I thought he was funny. I
Yeah.
thought he brought some weird levity every time he showed up on screen with the, being
It was
being
it
a
was very
goldfish.
great. There's a scene in Umbrella Academy that I think is my favorite of the series, and he's involved in. I think everyone's gonna love it when they watch it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, and I think
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
There's just
just
it's a
great.
uniqueness when you bring in a goldfish
It works
as one of
though.
the main players of the season, and it's just it is, yeah, like you said, it's very Umbrella Academy.
Yes, and then I think one of the last additions that were really great to the season was the character Lila.
Right, we're introduced to her early on, and she really kind of stole the show there for a little bit in the
Yeah, she really
season.
does.
She's a great character. I really hope we get more of her later on. There is some intrigue with her. There's some heartfelt emotion. There's some stuff with the
Her
family.
dynamic with the
Right.
team.
It's all very it brought a new angle to the show that I very much enjoyed, and also expanded on something that hadn't really been touched on
Yeah.
since season one. And you're kind of left with this mystery in season one, and they just kind of blow over it. You're just supposed to accept it. And then they kind of bring it back in season two, and you're like, oh wow, there's something here, and so I'm glad we're going to be able to expand on that moving forward.
Exactly. And one thing that was really great about it is like with the Umbrella Academy, we know about these characters. We already have an understanding of them and how they work, but Lila's kind of this outsider. And so getting to see how she reacts and interacts with all of their goings on, it made her a great character
Right.
for me.
Every time someone new comes in and they meet the family, which happens in this show, everyone goes and off and meets their own people and new characters
Exactly.
that are from 1963, some that are not.
Yeah.
And when they meet the family, everyone has different reactions to every single person. They're also
Yeah.
unique and distinct. That they don't all come over and shake your hand and, hey, nice to meet you, how are you? The family is the way they are, and they're going to act the way they are. And I think having new people be introduced to them is just it brings a lot of laughs.
Yeah. Yeah, it all really worked well. It really meshed this season.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, go ahead.
do you kind of want to touch on some of the other specifics of this season that you liked?
Yeah, I think on top of the character stuff, and you mentioned the soundtrack. I mean, there were just some great music moments. Some that may even beat the dancing scene from season one, which I know is a favorite of everyone's. There's one in particular I'm thinking of. I'm sure you know that it's just.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was dying. It was so funny.
It's so
the way the
perfect.
song is used. I am really surprised at how emotional they hit this season with a lot of stuff. There's a moment towards the end of the season got me really tearing up.
I definitely I know the moment you're talking about. It'll have you teary eyed.
Right, this show brings the emotion this season, and I think rightfully so. I think having 2 seasons of these characters, you learn to grow, and you grow with them, and when you find out, some get into trouble, some overcome some issues, it really hits home, and I think they did a really great job of expanding these characters, and hopefully they will even further as the show moves forward. Mm-hmm. You have any final thoughts you got before we wrap it up?
Yeah, everyone's just really gonna love Umbrella Academy season 2. It's just everything worked well this season. The characters are amazing. The action was fantastic, and it's just you're gonna love the soundtrack. Honestly, it's just there's no moment that I didn't enjoy watching Umbrella Academy season 2.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much says it all. You're gonna enjoy it from start to finish. It's worth the 10
Mm-hmm.
episodes. It's worth the binge. It's worth the time for sure. Especially
Yep.
in today's conditions. This like I mentioned earlier. During this whole pandemic and the lack of content, this definitely is one of those things that just makes life a little easier just for a little while, just for a few days. You get to binge it. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that'll bring you joy, and you'll get to look forward to when they come back in a couple years. But I think that'll wrap it up. I hope you guys are able to enjoy the show. It comes out the 31st. This should be coming out the 27th. So it's a few days early, but I hope this will hold you over and get you excited for what's to
Yep.
come next week. So Jacob, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at JacobCam13.
Yep, you can follow me at JacksonHayes67. You can follow the page at Full Circle Cine, Cine. Make sure to check out our work on FullCircleCinema.com. I should be posting a written review tomorrow at some point. That'll be the same day for you if you're watching this on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
And then, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, what you're excited for, tell us who your favorite character is from Umbrella Academy, all those good things, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you guys later.
See you guys.